Hey y'all, welcome to Adventures with Aggie. Today we're going back to our Goes to Uni series. We're going to feature Elizabeth and Karlee first. They are rodeo athletes from Colorado Mesa University. They're going to tell us what rodeo is, give us a little bit of background there, and then they're also going to tell us about their story and how important rodeo is in their lives. So, on that note, please welcome Elizabeth and Karlee. How are y'all doing?
I'm good today. It's very nice weather outside. I was gonna sit outside, but it got windy.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. It's not nice weather in New York. I believe it's 18 degrees outside, so I haven't left my house yet, my apartment today, but that's okay. Awesome. So let's just kind of get started, I guess, with your background. If y'all can both introduce yourselves. Elizabeth, do you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. So my name's Elizabeth. I'm originally from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, but I moved to Breckenridge, Colorado. So I went to Summit High School. I'm on Mesa's rodeo team, obviously, and my major is nursing.
Awesome. Karlee, what about you?
I'm Karlee. I'm originally from Palmdale, California, and I moved out here to go to school, and then now I have a house, so I'm a permanent resident in Grand Junction. My major is biology, so hopefully I'll graduate in December.
Ooh, that's soon. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Cool. Okay, well let's move into rodeo here. How did y'all get into rodeo? What made you decide that you wanted to do this in college? And like, I don't know, can you just kind of share how this journey started for you? Karlee, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, sure. So my mom grew up with horses, so I've been riding horses all my life, but I never did rodeo when I was a kid. I got into it when I was in high school. I started gymkhana first, and then I went into high school rodeo and then realized that I really, really like this sport. So I just got better throughout high school, and I was actually a varsity softball player, so I played softball all my life. And it was such a juggle between do I go to school for softball or rodeo? And then my senior year, things just looked up. I had horses and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to rodeo for college. So now here I am. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I played softball growing up too. I don't think I took it as far as you did, but it was fun. It was fun while it lasted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Elizabeth, what about you? How'd you get into rodeo?
So my mom's dad was trained race horses. So she grew up with horses and then kind of just progressed from there and eventually became a horse trainer for this family. So she trains all their Olympic dressage horses and stuff. So I kind of just got into rodeo when I was 5 years old. We started with little britches and then I kind of just progressed like Karlee. I did high school rodeo and now I'm doing it in college. So
that's so cool. I feel like rodeo is something that is it runs in the family, I think, or somebody has to have either done it or tried it or has horses or something like that. I don't know. I'm learning things as we're speaking about this, so that's cool. But yeah, I guess, can you kind of tell me about rodeo, the sport? So can you go through what your event is? Can you explain your event and what you like about it? Elizabeth, do you want to go first?
yeah, okay. So I used to goat tying was my main event, and that's what my original plan was. That's why I really wanted to rodeo in college. I ended up tearing my ACL, PCL, and all of that goat tying last year. So I kind of had to make a change and figure out do I want to still college rodeo or am I going to put it off on the back burner or whatever? So I decided that I was going to go into the roping events, which I already did, but I just didn't love them as much. So I team rope and breakaway rope. Team roping is basically two people, a steer, and then obviously they're on horses. One of the teammates ropes the horns of the steer and the other person comes around and ropes the feet. Ideally you want to catch 2 feet, but 1 foot's fine. You just get a penalty. And then the fastest time wins, like most rodeo events. And then the other one is breakaway roping, where it's just one person and instead of a steer, it's just a calf. So there's no horns. The rope has to only catch the neck, and it's like tied on with a little string to your saddle. And as soon as it breaks off, the time stops, and it's fastest time wins again. So
these are things I've never heard before. I've seen this on TV, but I've never heard anybody explain it. Like I'll watch whatever's on, I don't know, ESPN Sports Center, whatever they're showing that night. And I'm like, oh, I have no idea what's going on here, but it's fun to watch. But that's so cool. I've never heard the names, I guess. Like I see the things, but I've never heard them. I don't know. I've never heard the terminology before.
yeah.
Cool. Well, Karlee, what about you? What's your event? Can you kind of explain it a little bit?
So I do barrels, breakaway, and goat tying. And Elizabeth already explained breakaway, but goat tying is it's kind of like a weird thing to explain to people because you have to see it to like really understand. But basically, like there's a goat tied to a stake with like a 6-foot rope, and 100 feet down the arena. So you run as fast as you can on your horse, jump off, run to the goat, and tie 3 legs, and it's just the fastest time. So it's pretty weird, but it's really fun. I enjoy it a lot, actually. And then barrel racing is just running as fast as you can in a cloverleaf pattern around the barrels. So that's pretty easy. And you just go as fast as you can, which I like. That's my favorite part.
I love that. I don't know. I don't really know what my question is, but I guess like, how do you like, what is it like the first time you tie a goat? Like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. Like the thought of me just getting on a horse and going to tie a goat with 3 legs or whatever you said, like, I don't know how I would just do that. Like, I don't know what the question is here, but I don't know how I would just jump into that like that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but like you kind of just you run down and then you take the goat and you like flip it over, and then there's a whole like techniques to do it, and like people have different techniques and like how, but there's a lot of practicing. You got to practice.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just gather the legs and then you tie it with the string, and then that's it.
I don't see this regularly in New York City. It's not something that I see every day, but
Yes.
Maybe we should bring it here. Maybe we should have that happen. That'll be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Go viral in the streets of New York with goat tying. I think that would be fun, but we'll see, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So sorry, let's go back a little bit. So what made you choose CMU? How did you end up there? Both of y'all kind of said like, yeah, I'm doing it here now in college, but what was it about Mesa that made y'all want to go? Karlee, you want to go first?
So my mom actually, when I was looking for colleges, I didn't want to leave California. So I was not looking for like anything outside of California. And my mom Googled softball and rodeo schools, and this one popped up, and she was like, let's go check it out. Whatever. It's Grand Junction's a nice town. So we flew here. I toured the campus, and then the coach at the time let me come to the our facility on 22 Road that like the rodeo team practices at. And I got to practice a little bit, tie some goats with all the girls and like meet everybody and just see how it was. And we came home from that trip, and I looked at my mom and I was like, I think this is the school for me. Like, I love the town. It's not a big town, but it's not too small. The weather is kind of just like Palmdale, where I'm from. Just a little colder in the winters, but I think snow is fun. So I like when it snows, but it just fit perfectly into, because I didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. And I didn't want to leave California, as I said. And then I came here and I was like, it just felt right. Like I felt like I needed to be here in rodeo and just start a new chapter of my life.
I love that. You're selling the program so well. I'm sure they'll appreciate it if they listen to this.
Yeah.
But awesome. Elizabeth, what about you? Why CMU?
So I hate the snow. My high school is at 10,000 feet and it's winter for 9 months straight. It's freezing. So I either wanted to come to Grand Junction or go to Arizona because I needed warm weather. And Arizona and Grand Junction, I think, are really similar. I mean, obviously Grand Junction gets a little colder, but it's still like the same like desert atmosphere. And then Mesa's only like 3 hours from my house, so I can like run home on the weekends. Like I don't have to fly anywhere. It's super nice. And then I've always been interested in the medical field. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but then I had some big injuries that were like orthopedic trauma. And I finally like solidified my decision to go into nursing for orthopedics. And Mesa has a fantastic nursing program. So I was like, this is perfect. And then I was also able to receive a full academic ride, which is a really big blessing. So it just all worked out.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a perfect fit. I love it. That's so cool. I am not a huge snow fan, but I feel like moving to New York, I knew I was getting into that. There was no choice. Like I said earlier, it's 18 degrees today, so I'm just gonna avoid it and stay inside all day. So, what are I guess some of your favorite things about being a rodeo athlete, and maybe the opposite of that, of being like the hardest things of being a rodeo athlete, or maybe your least favorite part of it, I guess. Elizabeth, you want to go first?
Yeah. So some of my favorite things is just like the horses in general. Like it's just so like cool to have like a beast like that like lets you ride it, and I just think it's so fascinating. And then also just playing a sport gives you like a mental break from school and studying, and you get to get outside and just take a break. It's because school can just be so overwhelming. And I love the rodeo atmosphere. I think most of the people are so kind, and like everyone's so passionate about it. And then some of the things that are hard are just like the work, like being on campus and in the dorms. I have to go feed before class every morning. I have to feed after class. I have to like clean out their pen. Some of the work just gets hard, especially with all the homework and balancing like being an athlete and academics at the same time. But
yeah, sure. That sounds, I bet it's a lot. I couldn't imagine a sport with a live animal being too easy. But cool. Karlee, what about you?
So probably my favorite part about rodeo is it's so different from every other sport, like softball, basketball. Like it's so much different. Yes, it's a sport, but people in the rodeo industry have passion like I've never seen it. And I've even discovered like my passion for it. And it's just like working so hard for something and then finally getting there is such a relief. Like in 2019, I was working really hard in barrel racing and I won a rodeo and, got a belt buckle. And every time I'm in like a bad spot or like I think like I suck or whatever, I think back to that moment because that feeling in that moment was something that I never felt before and that I never wanted to end. So just that, and like the fact that it makes you so humble about, stuff in life, and just the humbleness that it brings me. Like I can suck at a rodeo and be like, you know what? My horse worked great. I could have done things wrong, or right. But you know what? I have next weekend or I have next month. Like it's always something that you can be improving on. Like, you know what? We have next weekend. I could do better next weekend, or, but I do get pretty mad when I do bad because I have that passion, but sometimes like it makes you take a step back and think like, you know what, I'm healthy. I didn't fall off. I didn't break bones. My horse is healthy. My horse worked for me. So you know what, it makes you look at all the good things instead of the bad things, which is a really nice trait to have in life, especially. So that's probably what I love most about it. And then obviously the horses, I love my horses more than anything in this world. And they're literally like my best friends. And I can hear them, like I can see their little eye movements and I can tell what they're thinking in their brain, and I like make little voices and stuff. So just the connection with such a large animal like that is absolutely mind blowing. And then what I don't like about rodeo is it's expensive, very expensive. And what Elizabeth said is cleaning up. Sometimes it just gets hard, especially with school. Like you got to find the time to, feed and clean up and take care of your horses, all while trying to take care of yourself in college. You got to take care of, 3 or 4 horses that we have. So that's probably the hardest part. But other than that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to ask you kind of a follow-up to, y'all both touched on this, but I was going to move into training. And then I think like with COVID, lots of sports have kind of shut down and stuff. Has COVID affected your training or anything like that? And like, I don't know how you would substitute a rodeo practice without having your animals. I don't know. I guess what's that been like for you all the last few months? Elizabeth, you want to jump in?
yeah, obviously I think COVID affected any sport. And rodeos were canceled. It was questionable whether we were even going to have a season. We were bouncing on. There was one point when our coach sent out an email and said, we're not going to be able to rodeo. The school doesn't want us traveling. just because, especially at college rodeos, it's not like basketball games. It's not like one school versus another school. It's one school hosts the rodeo for the region, and all of the schools in the region go. So all of the teams in the region are together every single weekend. So it's not just one team versus the other. So was a big concern about spreading COVID, because it's, 7 or 6 colleges together every weekend. And obviously that was hard to like figure out whether we were going to have a season or not. I mean, I was a freshman, so I didn't really I didn't know what it was like. And I was like, well, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world if I don't get to have a season, because I'm not a senior like Karlee. So it wouldn't have been a big blow to my senior year. And like, we have to get COVID tests before we hit the road, and we have to get them when we come back. We had to travel in like family units. So if one person in the family unit got it, it wouldn't blow out the whole team and cause everyone to stay back. It would just cause that one group to stay back. Obviously, we have to wear masks when we're just riding around. We can pull them down before we compete. But yeah, I would say we follow as many of the general COVID protocols as we can, but obviously our sport's unique. So it's hard to follow like everything perfectly. So, but yeah, it definitely did affect us.
Yeah, for sure. This, I guess, Karlee, kind of not transitioning a little bit, but a little bit of a different question for that. What would you say, like, can you substitute rodeo practice with? Like, if you don't have access to your animals, like, I'm sure y'all are lifting and like doing regular workouts as well. But what does that kind of look like for y'all?
So we do, like, some of us work out. We all have our own like workout. We don't really work out as a team because everybody has such different schedules. But if we couldn't like ride our horses or practice in the arena, there's some things that we can be on the ground and like rope a bale of hay or a dummy. So we can rope just standing on the ground. We can tie goats on the ground. That's about it. Like, roping the dummy and tying goats is really the most you can do to practice without a horse. Because a lot of it is, getting your horse ready, practicing on your horse, because on the ground and on your horse is like two different things. Like, you can rope on the ground and like that'll make you better at like roping and get you better. But being on the horse is like, now you have to learn to rope on the horse. So it's just, yeah, that's really the only thing. And then keep yourself in shape and hopefully try to keep your horses in shape. That's really the most important part. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I could rope on or off a horse, right? I have no idea if I could do that. Never tried, but maybe one day. Cool. So I guess let's talk about like actually competing and stuff like that. We haven't really talked about, you talked about how excited you were when you won, which I'm so excited that you did. But what goes through your minds like before the gates open, and how do you feel like when you're on the horse? Like, I don't know. I would feel adrenaline, I think. I've never done it, but I feel like there would be a lot of adrenaline and excitement and stuff. Yeah. So Karlee, what do you feel when you're out there?
You know what? It's a very hard thing to explain. It's like nervous, excited, determined, like all these emotions. And like, I've ran a lot. Like, I've been running barrels since high school, like 7, 8 years now. And the feeling never goes away when those gates open and you see the arena and it's like your turn, or you hear your name, the announcer saying your name, like just that, especially when the announcer says your name, you're like, you just get a like feeling throughout your body, like, oh my God, it's like, I'm up, let's do this. I've been practicing, like, or like, holy, this arena is, small and I always do bad here. So like sometimes you'll be like, I have to do good and I have to, like focus on certain things. Like I have to kick past the first barrel and stuff. Like, so it just depends like where you're at and like what your determination is. Cause sometimes I'm like, especially when on my goat horse, because I'm really confident riding him and I just feel really confident on him. Every time I'm just like, let's get it. Like, let's do this thing. Like, I'm just so ready. And sometimes before rodeos, like last season in the spring, our season got cut short. So we lost 4 rodeos. We went to 1, and then that's when COVID hit like really hard. And so they canceled the rest of the season. And that kind of really hurt me because I was like, I was doing so good and I wanted to, compete that season. And then we didn't know if we were going to have a season last semester. And just like knowing that I haven't rodeoed for so long, it just was like, I'm so ready. And then you get this, like, I love rodeo. I love doing this. Like my heart literally beats for rodeo and like going to rodeos. Just the adrenaline and the feeling and the atmosphere is just like something that I've never felt before. And it's like a passion. It's like a fire that just keeps getting bigger. So
I love it. I hope it keeps getting even bigger for you because
I think it
I
will.
can feel the passion like through the Zoom screen. I feel it. I love it. Awesome. Elizabeth, what about you? What's going through your mind before the gates open, after they open? How are you feeling?
I love it. I even have like horses that, you know, they're kind of dull in practice and like they do what they're supposed to. And then as soon as they hear like the loudspeakers and they hear the people, they just like their eyes just brighten up. And obviously I always get butterflies. I can't eat or drink for like hours before I go because I just like the nerves and stuff. And the roping events, you have to sit in like it's called a box, but it's when like the horses are ready to go before the cow gets let out. And it's the worst because you're just standing there waiting and they open it when you nod your head and you're just holding your breath and like you are just like patient, but you're like, oh my God. And then as soon as the gates open, it's so fun. I love it.
I'm starting to love it. I think I feel like the passion coming through from both of y'all. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to try this. But I love it. I love how excited y'all are. Cool. Okay, so just a couple more questions for y'all. But what is one common misconception or misperception that people have about rodeo in general or rodeo athletes? Elizabeth, I see you smiling, so let's go first.
So I think the most common thing is the like horse girl term. I just think that like horse girls have a bad rap, like we're like psycho or something, and like we like run around like neighing or like acting like horses. I don't know. Like I'll have like my friends send me like TikToks of like weird horse girls like pretending they're horses and like jumping over like jumping courses on their hands and knees, and like obviously it's a joke, but I think that's like a big like stereotype is that we're like weird and like obsessed with them. And I just have to say that I think if you saw me on campus, you would have no idea that I rodeo because I dress just like a normal girl. Like I don't wear my boots or anything in public because of that stereotype. And yeah, I think that that's definitely the biggest stereotype is that we're crazy and like we think that we're horses. I don't know. So
well, I've never heard of this, but that's crazy. Cool. Karlee, what about you? I see you nodding.
Yeah, I think what she said was literally what I was thinking too. Just people think we're crazy, and we are crazy because we're getting on 1,000-pound animals and, you know, like telling them what to do and controlling them. But I think we do get like a bad rap that we're like, you know, crazy psycho. We're like obsessed. And I'm kind of am obsessed with horses, but not to the point where like, you know, the stereotype. But one of the most like misconceptions of rodeo is people don't understand it and are not knowledgeable about it. So they think that we're mistreating the animals or doing this. And what I say is I was like, my horses live better than me. So, and I see so many people, everybody takes care of their horses. Like everybody thinks, like if you see a rodeo and you didn't know, it does look rough. I will agree to that. It does look rough, but those horses are getting taken care of. And most of them love their job. All my horses love their job. And what Elizabeth said earlier is like you can tell their whole demeanor changes when those gates open. And like, they love what they're doing and they're getting exercise and they're getting free food. And, you know, so that's probably the most misconstrued thing about rodeo is that we are, you know, abusing our animals. And I'm like, my animal is my baby. And a lot of other people, their animals are their babies and they take care of them, you know, better than their own self. So I think that's something that we need to educate people about, and you know, just educate them in general on the sport of rodeo, because once you kind of get it, you'll understand more and more.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna add. You already said it, but yeah, I think the education piece about rodeo is huge. Like I don't know the rules, but I like watching it. Yeah, I'm confused, but I think it's cool to see. But I think it would be even cooler for people like me or people that I know that don't understand the rules to actually get it. and understand all the technique and the practice and stuff that goes into it too. Because I feel like sometimes people think, oh yeah, I can sit on a horse. Like that's not hard. Like, yeah, you can sit on a horse, but like then what comes next? Like all the crazy excitement and stuff that you're talking about in your events and things. Yeah, no, I think the education piece is huge, and I hope that people learn a lot from hearing y'all speak and the next episode. But okay, just kind of last one, which I'm really excited to hear your answers because I don't know rodeo lingo. But what is like some, I guess y'all can give like one or two, a common lingo or term that somebody who like me who's new to rodeo that maybe I should know or understand. Karlee, you want to go first?
You know what? There's a lot of kind of just that we say to each other, but like one of my favorites is like in the barrel racing, like your friends and stuff, they'll yell at you when you're like, you know, running the barrels. And my favorite is whip and spur, because you just are riding like a freaking monkey on a greyhound. You know, you're just kicking and making that horse go as fast as you can, like whip and spur and like push him, that kind of stuff, like push him into the barrel and like, you know, that kind of stuff that you're like, what are they yelling about? Like, I don't understand. Whip and spur is kind of like, but it's funny because like all these girls would be like, push him, which is like, you got to push him into the barrel so, you know, the horse doesn't hit it. But that's barrel racing lingo, whatever. It's really funny. It's just something that, you know, you gotta know, or else you're like, what are these crazy people like yelling about? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think every sport has some kind of lingo that you don't get unless you do it.
Yes.
But yeah, I was looking at a list of rodeo, just like terminology. I was like, I don't know any of these. So that's crazy. It's like a different language. Elizabeth, what about you?
I would have to say the thing that I say the most or like talk to if I do a run or whatever, would have to be, it's called breaking the barrier. The roping events, there's like a rope that's tied in front of you. So basically, it's fair that every girl or guy gets the same like start. It's kind of like the gun and track, like when it fires, everyone goes, and it's so no one can get a head start, and so the animal can get a live start, so a head start, so the horse just doesn't trample over it. And when you break the barrier, it's a 10-second penalty. So that's always a downer when you hear the announcer say, oh, +10, and you're like, oh no, great, I broke the barrier. And that's detrimental in like the breakaway, because it's like the fastest sport in rodeo. Like the national finals just this past December, there were like 1.9 second runs. Like it's fast. So when you get the 10 seconds added on, you're kind of done for. Like you're not going to place when you have that. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that happen on TV and I didn't understand what was going on. Or like I didn't know why that 10 was added or something like that. I was like, oh man, that stinks, but I don't know what's happening. But awesome. Okay, well, now I know some words, so that'll be helpful next time I watch rodeo. But cool. Last question. I end all of my shows on advice. So what is one piece of advice you would give to somebody who maybe has no idea what rodeo is or what it's about, but maybe they want to try it? Just kind of get into the sport, whether it's trying it or even watching it. I feel like watching it might be a little easier to ease into rodeo than just hopping on a horse. But yeah, what's one piece of advice you would give? Karlee, you want to go first?
So I think I would, if someone's trying to get into rodeo or wants to learn, I would say definitely go to a rodeo. Go to a rodeo, see a live rodeo. If you don't understand something, Google it. Google has all the answers and they will tell you all the rules and stuff, because there's a lot of rules and it doesn't make sense. So like reading up on it, watching videos, tutorials about like how to braid your horse's mane and stuff like that. There's like a whole list of stuff. Like it's not just like, oh, here's rodeo, but like there's so much background to it, like getting your horses ready, you know, grooming, vet stuff. So if a horse cuts its leg, you know what to do, what ointment to put on, how much a horse is and how much rodeo is. That's probably one thing you would definitely want to know before you get into it, because it's draining. I am broke all the time because of it, but I would rather be broke than like not have rodeo. Like I'm perfectly fine being broke because I know that it's feeding into my passion and I'm doing my passion, but you know, I'm broke, but at least I'm loving my life and loving, you know, rodeo and my horses. So it all kind of balances itself out.
That's awesome advice. I love it. Elizabeth, what about you?
I would definitely like kind of say the same thing. Like the first aspect to think of is expensive. Like it is so expensive. I mean, honestly, some girls have like $100,000 horses, and like you need the truck, you need the trailer, you need the hay, you need the grain, you need like the saddles, and you like paying to enter, paying for gas, paying for truck repairs. It's not like a basketball team, you all hop on a bus,
Right.
and you know, you don't have to worry about oil changes, like brand new tires. It's so expensive. And yeah, like Karlee said, I would rather be broke and happy than rich and not happy. And I just love rodeo, and I just think it's one of the coolest sports. So definitely expensive though.
I love it. I love it. I've learned so much just from talking with y'all. I think also speaking with someone who does rodeo is helpful. Like I've watched videos, right? Like and I don't know what they're saying or I don't know what's going on. Like even just prepping for this interview, so much has been clarified just from hearing y'all talk about it because it helps, I think. But yeah, thanks so much for sharing your stories and walking us through the sport. Yeah, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. We really enjoyed this and really appreciate getting to represent CMU rodeo team and represent women in rodeo and just our views on rodeo. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really fun.
Awesome.
Super fun.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth and Karlee, for sharing your stories about how important rodeo is in your lives, as well as just giving us a bit of background on what rodeo is for those of my listeners and myself who don't know a lot about rodeo and how it works. So thank you for your explanations. And now I'm even more excited to talk about our episode coming out on Thursday. We have Lorianne and Michaela, who are also rodeo athletes at Colorado Mesa University, and they're going to tell us even more about being rodeo athletes and about their story, about their horses. And yeah, we're really going to get to know a lot about rodeo this week. And I'm so excited to feature this sport that isn't talked about enough. So tune in on Thursday to hear from Lorianne and Michaela.